Greetings to all learners. Myself Sharda Devre, Associate Professor, Government College of Pharmacy, Amravati, Maharashtra. Welcome you to the Lecture 16, WHO and ICH Guidelines under the Week 4, Quality Control Standards and Regulations. WHO has recommended the various guidelines for herbal drugs, medicinal plants and derived products. And these guidelines are from the simple aspects of the good agriculture and collection practices up to the storage, distribution, selection of the marker compound. It also covers the toxicity, safety and efficacy issues, research evaluation practices that need to be followed, and even the pharmacovigilance of the herbal medicines also. The most important aspects or guidelines that are covered, it is the quality control or safety and efficacy of the herbal drugs, because these parameters or these internationally recognized quality control methodologies can help to popularize the herbal medicines. In today's lecture, we will learn about the WHO guidelines for assessment, evaluation of quality, safety, and efficacy of the herbal medicines. These guidelines are applicable for the crude plant material as well as plant preparations and finished products, because quality is the only key parameter which decides that what type of therapeutic efficacy can be expected. From the point of view of crude plant material or raw material, its botanical identity from the competent botanist is a must, and there should be the indication of whether the fresh, dried or traditionally processed material is used or not. Then the active and characteristic constituent should be specified, and if possible then limits must be mentioned. Another parameters like the foreign matter, impurities and microbial content, that should be defined, as well as its limit should be mentioned. The voucher specimen, which is also called as a herbarium, that need to be stored for 10 years of period for the quality checks or inspections whenever it is required. And the crude plant material, according to the batch, means its lot number is assigned, and this should be appear on the product label, so that such a quality controlled crude plant material or raw material should be used further for either plant preparations, finished product, or as it is. From the point of view of plant preparations, as we have in a previous lectures learn about that what is plant preparations or what is a herbal products, or what do you mean by herb and all these things. So these are actually the extracts, tinctures, fatty or essential oils, express juices, and this involves the specific physical or biological processes to obtain it. So for plant preparations, detailed manufacturing procedures, then if any substances are added for its preparations, that need to be mentioned. Then identification methods, if possible then assay which determines the percentage purity of plant preparations, that need to be mentioned. If it is possible that active principles, which are active principles, and that means that active principles identity, then it should be mentioned. And if it is not possible, then the chromatographic fingerprint to ensure the consistent quality of the preparation can be mentioned. In case of the finished product or dosage forms, the manufacturing procedure and formula, including the amount of excipients, that should be given in a detail. Then method of identification, quantification of the plant material, identification of the active principle, and if it is not possible, then the chromatographic fingerprint of mixture, because in most of the herbs there we cannot define or to the single constituents, or if we able to define, still the therapeutic efficacy is due to the certain combination of the chemical constituents. So from that point of view, chromatographic fingerprint gives the more idea about the various type of the chemical constituents that are present, and that mixture is actually responsible for the therapeutic efficacy that can be recommended. Then this finished product of the herbal drugs or traditional dosage forms must comply with the general requirements, quality requirements for the dosage forms. Like that, for solid dosage form like tablet, capsules, it must have that evaluation parameters of the friability or hardness, from the point of view of semi-solid preparations, spreadability, pH, then permeability, this type of the general requirements should be followed. Then confirmation of the regulatory status in the country of origin required for the imported finished products. So according to that, if the product is under the import and export, or it is moving in the international market, then that quality parameters according to the quality of pharmaceutical products moving in the international commerce should be applied. The physical chemical stability of the product as well as the container should be tested, and defined storage condition and shelf life should be established. So in this way, for all three types of the products of the herbs and medicinal and aromatic plants, these quality parameters are required, which are most common and which also ensures that the product is manufactured or it is evaluated as or according to the international guideline. Assessment of safety of the medicinal and derived products depend upon the text or the literature review, relevant literature review that is available, which is indicating the safety and side effects of toxicological data. And if there are the reported side effects, then that should be documented according to the general guidelines that are established for the pharmacovigilance. Most of the time it happens that the pharmacovigilance is not required, means either documentation of the side effects or documentation of the drug interactions, herb drug interactions is not required. But this is not the case for traditional medicines also, as well as for the new herbal medicines also. It is important to have the well documented side effect reporting practices. Then if there is a new evidence for the traditional medicinal and aromatic plant, then the revised risk benefit assessment should be done. Suppose the previously in uh, various traditional texts the medicinal plant is mentioned for the dementia, but now its indication is for the Alzheimer's, then the further studies related to the Alzheimer's treatment or its efficacy should be developed or should be evaluated from the point of view of documentation of safety based on experience, because there is a long term evidence for the traditional medicinal plant utilization since 5000 or since the dawn of the humankind. So it becomes difficult that to get the data in a written form. So from that point of view also the risk assessment should be considered, and if it is found that the chronic toxicological risk are there and not have been recognized, then that also need to be evaluated uh, by the authorities. The period of use and the health disorders treated, number of users, and the countries having the experience in utilization of such a medicinal plants traditionally should also be considered while documenting or the assessing the safety of that medicinal plant. If toxicological risk is known, then toxicity data must be submitted with the explanation of the risk and the dosage specification. So what type of risk is there, what type of doses in that, means what type of doses are therapeutic and what type of doses are toxic, or what is that silver line between the therapeutic efficacy and toxicity. There are chances that misuse, abuse, or dependence can be possible with few of the medicinal plants, and from that point of view such a data or such a type of effects also must be documented. If long term traditional use cannot be documented due to some reasons, then there are chances that there it can lead to the doubts on the safety, toxicity, and hence such a type of the mention is necessary while assessing the safety. So from the point of view of safety assessment requirements, the most important parameter is that the relevant literature, and if such a literature is not available, then the uh, laboratory or preclinical, then clinical evaluation should be done. Then and then the product should be allowed to get market or should be allowed to use by the patients. Now next it is the assessment of the efficacy. So again, it should cover the all aspects of the efficacy assessment, like that evidences which required to support the indications, exactly the medicinal plant or aromatic plant for which type of diseases, disorders, treatment it is utilized. So to from that point of view, the relevant literature, research studies for the pharmacological and clinical effects or its active ingredients, everything should be collected and specified and should be described. Even it is possible that to record the individual experiences from the physicians or traditional health practitioners or from the patients, and that also need to be considered or take into account for the assessment of the efficacy of the traditional medicinal and aromatic plants. Most of the time, most of these plants are also non-specific in indications, that like they are better for the prevention or for the prophylactic uses. Then some relaxation in the requirement of the proof of efficacy as per the extent of the traditional use or as per the indication is possible, and it depends upon the authorities and it depends upon the safety of that medicinal plant. Where traditional use has not been established, then it again becomes necessary to generate the clinical evidences, and hence it requires the further detailed studies for such a drugs. Then many times it happens that from the point of view Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani or other traditional medicine practices that are in China or other countries, where polyherbal formulations are utilized, like that are called as a combination products, and hence assessment should differentiate between the old and new combination products also, because nowadays due to the technology advancement or due to the great knowledge about the various traditional systems, it is possible to develop the new combinations for the better healthcare. So again, the assessment should mention that whether it is old one or new combination. Then there must be the requirements that can able to differentiate the efficacy, safety, and related parameters. The documentation of traditional use, like the classical text of Ayurveda, various Nighantus or Shushrut Samhita, Charak Samhita, or other systems like Siddha palm leaf manuscript and Unani, that is a canon of medicine type of the books. So from every sources, the collection of evidences or documentation is important to assess the efficacy. An explanation of new combination of a well-known substance, including the effective dose ranges and compatibility, and that is in addition to the traditional knowledge of each and every single compound, is required for assessing, for evaluating the efficacy of the combination product. Each active ingredient must contribute to the efficacy of the medicine in a different way, because it is possible. For example, Dashamularishta, so 10 roots are present in that. So each and every root is having a different efficacy in treatment of the various symptoms or various complaints of the patient. So that indications from the point of view of efficacy need to be mentioned for each and every active ingredient. Clinical studies are required to justify the efficacy of a new ingredient and its positive effect on the total combination, because we cannot do the combinations by our own until and unless these combinations are found more efficacious than the single drug or single herb use. So that's why clinical studies are important. Intended use or indication should be specified with the documentation. So whatever the product that is marketed or that is utilized used in a patient's, so its indication must be mentioned and it should be well documented, which is further required for the quality checks and various inspections at the national or international level. Product information for the consumers as a part of efficacy evaluation plays the very important role. This information is in the form of labels or package inserts, and it is expected that this information should be in an understandable form to the consumers, and it should cover the all necessary information like name of the product, quantitative list of the active ingredients, identification of the active ingredients through its Latin botanical name or common name in the language that are preferred by the national regulatory authorities or as per the recommendations from the local authorities. Then dosage form, expiry date, lot number, then who is marketing this particular product, where it means indication related information like the doses, then mode of administration, duration, adverse effects, any warnings, precautions, contraindications, then whether to use in lactation or pregnancy or not. And sometimes not all information that is ideally required, and hence the regulatory authorities can decide the minimal, sufficient, and effective information that should be present in a labels. Advertisements and other promotional materials that directly to the health personnel and the general public should be fully consistent with the approved package information, because nowadays we can see that on TV or various social medias, Facebook, Instagram, there are various types of advertisements related to the traditional medicinal plants or these Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani dosage forms or its utilizations, and hence wrong claim or misleading claims should be avoided by these advertisements, or it must be regulated by the national authority so that only authenticate claims can be present in these promotional materials. We have learned the quality, safety, and efficacy parameters, which are very generalized. And if the traditional data is available from the ancient text of the various medicine systems, then that data can be produced as a evidence of the quality, safety, and efficacy. And if the data is not available, then the various preclinical or clinical studies must be done, and it should be get documented, and then it can be marketed in the form of a raw material or preparations or the final product. As per the WHO quality control guidelines for the herbal medicine, these are the some common quality control, safety, efficacy parameters that are generally followed for the standardization of the crude plant material or preparations, derived preparations. So preliminary evaluation like a sampling, foreign matter determination, determination of total fiber is important to assess the safety, that whether the drug is or raw material is the same, whether it is authenticate or whether it is a different. The morphological evaluation like color, odor, and taste is applicable to the all three, that is to the raw material as well as to the preparations and then to the dosage form also. But size and shape or extra features that are actually available to the crude plant material, especially the organized drugs like the leaf, stem, bark, like that. Microscopical evaluation like qualitative, quantitative, or powder microscopy also plays the important role in herbal drug industries to authenticate the crude raw material, suppose churnas or certain type of the powder dosage forms like the vati, gutika are uh, need to be evaluated, then these parameters gives the assessment about the quality. Similarly, the physical qualitative evaluation parameters that varies according to the state, whether the solid, liquid, or semi-solid of the raw material or the finished products. According to this physical qualitative evaluation parameters need to be done, like that refractive indices, optical rotation are applicable to the liquid forms, while the viscosity, density are applicable to the semi-solid forms like the gums, mucilages. Then physical quantitative or physicochemical evaluation, which involves the ash value, extract value, moisture content, and if aromatic plants, then volatile oil determination. This ash value gives the idea about the various inorganic content. Extractive value gives the idea about the various chemical constituents that are present in the various solvents, like suppose alcohol extractive value, then alcohol soluble constituents, water extractive value, then water soluble chemical constituents. Moisture content plays important role because this moisture content plays the role in the microbial growth or in the decision of the suitable storage conditions or containers. Then chemical evaluation is also important, because this qualitative or quantitative chemical evaluations help to determine the phytochemicals that are present, and to determine the quantity of these phytochemicals, which will important from the therapeutic efficacy point of view. There are certain WHO parameters which are responsible, or according to the chemical constituents, like swelling index for gums and mucilage, foaming index for the saponins, hemolytic index for the saponins, bitterness value for the bitter principles, total tannin value for the tannin containing crude drugs. Then after these evaluation parameters, there are certain biological parameters which are good for the safety, therapeutic efficacy, like that toxicological evaluation, microbial load determination, aflatoxin detection, or pesticidal residue determination, radioactive contamination, heavy metal detection. All these parameters are very important, because in international market, most of the time Indian Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani formulations are having the issues for the pesticide residue determination or heavy metal detection. And hence if these drugs are evaluated for the limits or contents of these particular toxicological contents, then they can be marketed well. Aflatoxins are highly toxic, and hence its determination is must for the national as well as international market of these traditional medicine plant products. As the plants are derived from the land or from the agriculture, and the pesticide spray for the soil as well as the plant itself plays the role, and there are chances that residues can present in the plant material. So this type of the evaluation is also important. Radioactive contamination is the evaluation which is applicable according to the certain area, geographical regions where radioactivity is found or it is suspected. Then next, it is a pharmacological evaluation, which is depending upon the utility or to generate the scientific evidences for the traditional claims of the plants, like for diabetes or for cancer, for various types of inflammatory diseases, arthritis, or brain tonic uses. For that, the data generation can be possible from the in vitro, in vivo, or ex vivo evaluation through the various animal models. Then due to the advancement in the technology, the various analytical evaluations are also possible, like the chromatographic or spectroscopic, that again generate the evidences for the chemistry, for the active constituents, and which plays the role for the international market capture of these traditional medicinal plants. As this type of evaluation gives the belief, gives the surety of the safety, efficacy, and quality. Along with these parameters, it is necessary that as per the dosage forms, either solid, semi-solid, or liquid dosage forms, the various other evaluation parameters as per the dosage form need to be evaluated. Next, it is the ICH quality control guidelines, or ICH guidelines for assessment of the herbal drugs. As such, an international council for a harmonization, which is for technical requirements of pharmaceuticals for human use, has not specifically mentioned any of the guidelines for the herbal drugs or traditional medicinal and aromatic plants. But when we want to differentiate it from the traditional indications and to the new indications, the best example I have given, that is that if the medicinal plant want to be used instead of a dementia to the Alzheimer's, then it becomes necessary to follow the guidelines that can able to evaluate the safety, efficacy, and the quality. So actually ICH is the organization which brings together the regulatory authorities and pharmaceutical industry to discuss the scientific and technical aspects of the drug registration. So it is again the international organization which is striving to maintain the quality of the drugs or medicine throughout the world with the unified system of the quality. And its mission is to achieve the greater harmonization worldwide to ensure the safe, effective, and high quality medicines that are developed and registered in the most resource efficient manner. It was established in 1990, but in 2005, IC Steering Committee adopted a new codification system to make it more logical, consistent, and clear to the practitioners. and hence this system is like that. If R1, R2, R3, then it is showing the number of revisions. R1 is means first revision, R2 means second revision, and these are applicable to the traditional medicine, folk claim, tribal community, ethnobotany, and the alternative system medicines like Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, traditional Chinese medicine system, and homeopathy system in some of the way. Like that, for the quality guidelines, the conduct of the stability studies or threshold for the impurities testing, or the flexible approach to pharmaceutical quality based on the GMP, that is a good manufacturing practices. Because these either the stability studies or identification of the impurities or practicing of the GMP gives the highly quality product, and thus it also gives the desired therapeutic effect. These are the some quality guidelines which are named from the Q1 to Q12, and that are indicating the different aspects. That is, a Q1 is for stability, Q2 is for analytical validations, Q4 is pharmacopoeias, Q7 is for good manufacturing practices, Q9 is for quality risk management, and like that. So few of these are applicable to the medicinal aromatic plants, and this is from the point of view of the international market. Next guideline is the safety guideline. Under that, the various toxicity studies, either acute, chronic, subacute, and then the further potential risk studies like the carcinogenicity, genotoxicity, and reproductive toxicity should be followed. Because when these type of the studies are done, then it increases the belief, it increases the efficacy, it increases the quality, and thus it plays the role in the healthcare of the humankind. So again, the same like that of the quality, here are the guidelines numbered as a S1 to S11. In that, S1 is for the carcinogenicity studies, S2 is for genotoxicity studies, S5 is for reproductive toxicology, S8 is for immunotoxicological studies, S10 is for photosafety evaluation. So these are the studies that gives us the idea that how, in what dosage form the drug is having the therapeutic benefits, and in what dosage form it will lead to the toxic form, or how its toxicity need to be evaluated from the different aspects point of view. Like either for the carcinogenicity means cancer causing, genotoxicity which is related to the genetic mutation, then reproductive toxicology which comes like the teratogenicity means birth defects, uh, the drugs or herbal medicines which can lead to the birth defects that need to be evaluated. Next is the efficacy guidelines, which is concerned with the design, conduct, safety, and reporting of the clinical trials. As we all know that most of the time it is considered throughout the world that if the medicine is traditionally used, then there is a no need of a clinical trial. But if any change in that traditional dosage form, or its combination, or if it's in its indication that instead of a dementia it is for the Alzheimer's, then clinical trials are the must one. And this gives us the more assurity related to the efficacy, because clinical trials are need to be done on the human being and a patient, and hence it confirms the final indication utility, or utility in the treatment of the diseases or disorders. Like quality and safety guidelines of the ICH, these guidelines also having the numbers that are given E1 to E18, and each number guideline is providing the thorough details about the various clinical practice related aspects and its evaluations. Next, it is the multidisciplinary guidelines. This is the guideline if it is found that the certain parameters which are new, which are coming with the advancement in the technology, advancement in the knowledge, and that are not fitting to the quality guidelines, safety guidelines, or efficacy guidelines, then that is called as a multidisciplinary guidelines. And from this, you can easily see this from the numbering and its guidelines, like that. Suppose, for example, M6 gene therapy. which is now actually the scientists are working on that, and instead of tablet capsules or other medicines, genes can be inserted to cure the diseases. So that will be the next few decades latter technology, so which is included into the multidisciplinary guidelines. There is one that is a DRA, which is medical terminology or the common technical document, and the development of the electronic standards for the transfer of the regulatory information. So this type of the guidelines are mentioned here because due to the digitalization, it is become very important to have the data in the electronic form and its standards, because when we are generating the data related to the safety, efficacy and utility of these traditional medicinal plants, then it is always in a hard copy or it is in a documentation form. But for the multi-regional or clinical studies in number of hospitals, that to need to be maintained electronically, and this type of the electronic data must have the standards. And for this, these multidisciplinary guidelines have mentioned certain uh, uh, guidelines like M2 or M8 for same. Then various biopharmaceutics classification system based or bioanalytical method validations like that are also mentioned in this multidisciplinary guidelines. There is one guideline that is a non-clinical safety studies. So most of the time it happens that the preclinical as well as non-clinical studies are not required. It is can be documented through or from the patient point of view, or from the practitioners or physicians point of view, or through the various digital techniques which is called as a computer aided drug design, and from that also the data can be obtained related to the safety. So, thus, in the lecture 16 of the WHO and ICH guidelines, we have learned about the various safety, efficacy, and quality aspects that are required for so that these traditional medicinal and aromatic plants derived either traditional products or modern products can be considered into the national or international markets. Thank you.